before we jump in, let's define a couple of key terms so that we're all on the same page when it comes to estate planning, which is really what this is all about. The first term is your estate. The second term is probate.
So some states allow you to even put a beneficiary on your vehicle. In some states, you have a transfer on death deed that you can leave your home to a beneficiary.
Here are some alternative ways, that kind of the next best thing if you don't have the money to engage a lawyer to draft your will for you. So a couple of other estate planning tips. One really important thing is to maintain a list of all of your assets, all of your wishes, all of your liabilities, where you want these things to go. So you can put that in a will, but I think it's also important to just put in detail, you know, these are the accounts that exist at such and such and such banks. These are my debts. This is who my student loan servicer is, XYZ. This is what I want to happen with my favorite pair of Nikes. This is, you know, like to that detail where your loved ones have one central place to go in the event something happens to you, so that everybody's on the same page. There's a game plan. It's all kind of in one place. So I think that's really, really important. That's an exercise that I started with my parents a couple years ago around Christmas time. We kind of all sat them all down. I was like, okay, I have no idea who has a mortgage on this house, what accounts you guys have. I know nothing. We knew nothing. So I made them sit down with my sisters and we created kind of like this family spreadsheet of everybody's accounts, everybody's loans, everybody's debts, and who owns what, approximate amounts in these accounts, so that they're all in one place. If something happened to any one of us, we have a general idea of where everything is at and who to contact if something were to happen to us. So that's just one really, really, really important thing, and something I suggest that everybody do, no matter, you know, how old or young you are. If you have something to be distributed or wishes of what you want to happen to your assets, if you care about that, it's definitely a really important thing to do.
And let's be honest, we know that this is going to be a very touchy subject, especially when you're sitting down with parents or, you know, whoever, your legal guardian, that they might not have been that open with you about their finances. And I would say, as a word of advice, please just make sure that you let them know that, hey, it's not because I want to be in your business and everything that's going on, but God forbid, like she mentioned earlier, you know, the way how this world is and the way how life works is, unfortunately, you just don't know when you're going to die. And we're both relatively young. You know, God forbid something happened to one of our parents tomorrow or today. You need to be able to know that, okay, I have this, my parent has this life insurance policy in this location, so I know where to go and to find that. Akiva has siblings. I am my mom's only child. So, I mean, aside from her husband, it's just me. And again, you know, anything can happen where it could be both of them. So I'd be responsible for those details. I'd be the next of kin in line to handle some of these details, and if I don't know where things are, then we have issues, we have problems.
Right. In this video, we're focusing a lot more on the financial aspects, but there are definitely a lot of non-financial aspects to planning for end-of-life care as well. So there's this really great resource that we use at my job. I've used it with my parents, and I'm going to recommend it to you. It's called the Lasting Matters Organizer, where loved ones find what matters most. Let me see if I can get the camera to focus on this for a second. There we go. It's an indispensable guide to helping people organize, plan for, and share personal intentions and other information related to end of life. So this is a really, really comprehensive guide, you guys, and we're gonna make sure we put our Amazon affiliate link in the description box below if you guys want to grab a copy. It literally goes into so many things you wouldn't even think of when you start trying to put all of this together. There's, you know, sections for genealogy, PO boxes that you own, like just certain things that you wouldn't even think about. What you want to happen to your exotic pets if you have them, who's going to take care of them. You know, pets are an important part of a lot of people's families, and like who's going to take the dog, who's going to take X, Y, and Z. If there are any like rare cars you own or some instruments that are dear to you, things like that. You just want to know, you know, what everything is. Digital assets, for example, something happened, nobody knows how to get into our YouTube channel login besides, you know, the two of us. So it's like things like that. If you have like any digital assets, things like that you want to make sure people are aware of and know how to access, like it goes into so much detail. It's really, really great. So this is definitely going to be a resource that I'm going to continue using, and like I said, we'll link this in the description box below if you guys want to pick up a copy for yourself. It is well worth the money for peace of mind.
Yes. And, you know, in the midst of death, honestly, the last thing that you want to be worrying about is, oh my goodness, we don't have the funds to bury so-and-so. We don't have this to do, whatever it is that you're trying to do. And just keeping everything organized will at least eliminate that worry. It'll give you that peace of mind. And we're just talking about finances here. There's a whole other set of things that you really want to go into, such as medical, you know, things. Who is the medical proxy? Like, we're not going to touch on those things, but that's also something that you should keep in the back of your head and make sure that you list all of that out, like what you would like to happen with your body. If you prefer to be cremated,
yep,
if you prefer
that's
to be
all in this book,
like,
too.
Those are all things that you need to think about, and hopefully your family members will respect those wishes. Yes. Because honestly, you're dead, so you don't know what's happening anyways.
So now we're actually going to jump over to Mishak and I's balance sheet. This isn't really new news. We do our net worth updates every quarter. So you guys, if you saw our last net worth update at the end of June, you would have seen these numbers already, but the point of going through our balance sheet is really to identify the assets that we have, the liabilities we have, and make sure that we have a plan for each of these things. So now let's jump into that and make sure our ducks in a row in that regard. Okay, so as of the end of June, let's just start with our assets. I had about $26,000 worth of cash. And Mishak had about $32,000 worth of cash. And these are basically in bank accounts. So like I said, my plan for those is really the vast majority of that money. They are held in bank accounts that already have assigned beneficiaries. So I've already gone through and listed who I want my beneficiaries to be on every single one of those bank accounts, making them payable on death accounts that we mentioned earlier in the video.
And I've done the same.
And then the next thing is liquid investments and retirement plans, which is mostly my 401k at work, Mishak's 403b at work. So I definitely have my beneficiaries listed on my 401k plan as well. Very, very, very important.
Definitely. And something that I also might add with your 403b or 401k plans, at least at my job, I can't speak for Akiva's retirement plan, but with ours you can actually list more than one individual, and you can actually list the percentages to go to those individuals. So, and it doesn't necessarily have to be equal percentages either.
So I would say if you're going to do something like that where things are going to be unequal, try to talk to your family about that beforehand so there's no surprises. The only thing that does not have a beneficiary, I would say, is the small investment account that I have, but I'm not necessarily worried about that because it's only like $300 in there anyway. And so, like, you know, if that has to go through probate, it's $300. It's definitely not the majority of the assets that I have. So even though I don't have a beneficiary on that, I think I'm okay with that. Next is automobiles. So I have a car that is currently worth about $8,700. Mishak has his car that's worth about $2,120. So right now, my car would be the biggest asset that if something were to happen to me that would go through probate, because I do not live in a state where I can do a transfer on death, you know, designation for my vehicle. And so that would be the only asset that has to go through probate. And that is something that I would try, that I need to, my homework from this, you know, this project, kind of this video, is to make sure that I have thought about who I actually want my car to go to, because I don't even think I really made a decision about that as of yet, as to who I want my car to go to, and make sure that is written down, codified.
Same thing for me. My car, I don't have anyone listed. I didn't even know, like she said, that that's something that I could do. I just assumed because I owned my car, I own it, that whoever wanted it could just take it. But it's definitely something that I will look into now that I'm aware of this.
And since you're a Maryland resident, you can do the transfer on death designation. So that's something definitely that we need to look into.
Hopefully it's not at the DMV though, because I do not like to go down there if I don't have to.
I don't think anyone likes to go to the DMV, Mishak. Then I have personal and business property, which is worth about $500. So like, if I were to pass away, who's gonna take my Canon M50 that we're currently recording on? And like, you know, a couple of higher ticketed items, my MacBook that I recently bought, like things like that, you know, people will certainly want. That I should probably designate who I actually want that to go to, so that siblings, or for example, I have two younger sisters. I definitely don't want them quarreling over who's gonna get my MacBook. You know what I'm saying? So I need to just codify that and just list who's gonna get what. So that takes care of our assets. Now let's go down to what would happen if we died in our liability section. So for credit cards, honestly, what will probably happen is, more than likely, if we pass away, there will be some type of balance on our credit cards. How that usually works is that once the probate process opens up, I mean, your creditors can, you know, request claims from your estate. They usually have a certain number of days. It varies from state to state, where, you know, Capital One can come and say, hey, hello, you owe me $500. That's the balance on the credit card. Pay up. So, I mean, that's kind of inevitable. I mean, your family will know where to find, you know, different things if they want to, you know, while the probate process is going on, if they've already gotten money from my bank accounts and things like that, if they choose to contact the companies and just pay them off themselves and not have to wait for that whole process, more power to them. You know, that's basically how that's going to work. It's not going to be tons and tons of money, so not really a concern for me. Next is my car note. And so this is honestly, I've made videos in the past as to why I am paying off my debts in the order that I'm paying them off. And one thing I really haven't gone into detail about, like I've talked about the interest rates and things like that. But one important reason why I'm also trying to really pay off my car note by the end of this year, as if you've been with the channel for a while, you've heard me say that a few times by this point, is because that is really the only significant debt that I just don't want to have, you know, my family having to deal with. So that's another reason why I really want to pay off my car note as soon as possible, so that whoever I leave my car to, they can just own it outright. You know, there's no additional money trying to be claimed from my estate to pay off that car, and I just don't want them to have to deal with it. So if the car note is gone, somebody can just have my car outright free and clear. There really aren't going to be many claims on my estate, maybe a credit card company or two. That's really going to be it. And I say it's going to be it because our next liability and our largest liability is our student loans. So we currently have a combined almost about $167,000 in student loans between the both of us. And they're all federal loans at this point. And so if you didn't know, if you pass away, if something happened to me with my loans, and that includes also my Parent Plus loans and the loans that are actually in my name. I count the Parent Plus loans because even though they're in my dad's name, if something, I'm the one paying them off, first of all. And if something were to happen to me or to him, those go away. So if I were to pass away, the Parent Plus loans would be gone and my personal loans would be gone. And in Mishak's case also, those are all federal loans. If something happened to him, student loans are gone. So that's not a consideration. That's also why, like I said, I'm prioritizing paying my car note before my student loans. Because if something like that were to happen, at least I know my student loans are poof, gone.
We might add that they don't just disappear. There is a process. So your family members would have to contact that loan servicer, the federal government, the U.S. Department of Education, and more than likely they're going to request that death certificate. And then after that, how long it takes for them to process it, and then those debts will be discharged.
Yeah. So right now, as you guys can see, our net worth as of the end of June was about negative $90,000 combined. But honestly, like I keep telling my parents, I'm worth a lot more dead than alive than they believe. So you can see that if we just simply removed our student loans, like we have like a net worth that is basically 6 figures. And you know, that's not even counting the life insurance policies that we both have. I have a life insurance policy at work. Mishak, I believe you have a life insurance policy at work as well. So on top of the money that they would already be receiving from our bank accounts, from, you know, the car, from our personal property, things like that, there's also on top of that life insurance. And I know my dad also has a small policy on me as well.
That's not including the life insurance policies that our parents also have on us. So.
Yeah, they're itty bitty, but it's mine is really itty bitty, but it's something.
And the last thing that kind of just popped into my head, and I know it can kind of seem kind of mean, is don't just leave your parent as your beneficiary if, you know, oh, well, they're my parent. If you have a sibling who, whether younger or older, is honestly going to be that more responsible person and make sure that things are done, then please leave that person in charge of your funds. Not someone who is just, oh, well, let me leave mom, and you know that mom has a drug problem, you know that mom has a spending problem. I mean, you hope that mom will do the right thing and do what needs to be done, but you don't want to leave that up to chance. Bottom line is leave it to someone who is responsible. So whoever that person might be, even if it's a friend, you can do that.
So I hope this video was really helpful for you guys in thinking about how to plan for the end of your life. And hopefully this, you know, by looking through a real life example through our balance sheet, you're kind of able to go through the different things that you own and really think about, well, hey, do I have a plan for this? Do I have a beneficiary on this? And if your beneficiaries aren't up to date, making sure that those are up to date. It's just really, really, really important, you guys. You cannot stress enough. You definitely don't want to leave that unnecessary stress on your loved ones. They already have to grieve your, you know, your passing. They have to, you know, deal with living life without you. You definitely don't want to add that additional burden of you know, all of this financial stuff on top of that. So I know this is like the first time we've really addressed the topic of estate planning. This video was actually inspired after I watched a video by One Big Happy Life where they went over what would happen to their assets, like if they died. So that kind of had me thinking on the estate planning front. And so this is what we're choosing to do, and just some more general information about estate planning. It's a topic that I really haven't seen many other, you know, YouTubers talk about in the personal finance space, but it's super, super, super important. So if you guys want to see more videos on estate planning, if you guys have any estate planning questions, you know, drop them in the comments below. We're gonna get back to every single one of you guys as usual. And don't forget to subscribe if you're new, and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any other videos from us.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.